Family History, Social Location, and Life Chances by Aaron C. Maestas. I'm going to try my best to not just read directly the slides, but bear with me. I'm not always the most organized, but we're going to try our best here. So thank you for your patience, and let's get into it. I don't have a family archive. What I do know, my dad is Nicaraguan, my mom is Mexican, Mexican American, and I am a Latino. He, him, working adult learner at C&M in Albuquerque. I'm grounding this talk or presentation in the pieces I have without making claims I can't verify. Family context limited, so this is a good faith cursory sketch. These locations, Nicaragua and Mexico, shape how people see me and how systems respond to me. They also interact, race with class, student status with full-time work, and regional context in New Mexico. Um, Definitely in the Latino umbrella, often reads as Mexican regardless of Nicaraguan roots. Reading number one, Richard Dyer on stereotypes, how they work. Dyer argues stereotypes organize reality quickly, but they're value laden and boundary making. Stereotypes are ordering shortcuts we use to make sense of the social world, but they're not neutral. They carry power and draw boundaries of we versus they. They can harden into rigid expectations that affect access and treatment. So I would say that this maps onto moments where I'm slotted into a simplified box, sometimes helpful, often limiting, affecting how I'm treated in classrooms and at work, such as like the classic helper assumption role instead of leadership in school work environments, um, not getting the full education, on no course, the classic like name appearance assumptions. I previously, before getting married, had the last name Martinez. Now it's Maestas, but both names have that Mexican connotation. And of course, we all heard people who don't know that New Mexico is a part of the United States, and that, oh, people that assume that because you're in New Mexico, you're fluent in Spanish. Which, I mean, wouldn't that be wonderful if it were true? Reading number two, Almi and Winant's racial formation, why structure matters, the key ideas being race is made through racial formation, racial projects that link ideas about race to institutions and policies. Almi and Winant, they help me see how race gets organized in policy and everyday routines. When categories or procedures fit some groups better than others, they tilt opportunity. This helps me make sense of what I see at C&M and across New Mexico. It's not just personal bias, it's embedded in common sense and structures that shape life chances. I mean, examples in my lane, um, forms categories that flatten Latinidad, ID checks, financial aid, rules, language expectations, campus practices that can exclude. We've all heard the one size fits all advising, but luckily that's not as common. How this shapes my life chances, where headwinds show up. Assumptions from stereotypes, dire, can narrow perceived roles or expectations. Structural routines, O and W, can make time, money, and support harder to access. for working students. Together, stereotypes and structure affect access. I mean, to time, guidance, trust, and resources. At the same time, community assets and CNM supports can widen options, especially when policies are flexible and relationships are strong. So, of course, we're Tailwind's help. CNM supports tutoring, resource center, financial aid counseling, faculty mentorship, local networks, bilingual, bicultural capital, experience serving youth in recovery. Ethical identity notes, staying culturally careful. To avoid appropriation, I'm careful about what identities and symbols I claim. I stick to what I know, use neutral visuals, and leave space for what I don't know. Of course, I don't claim indigenous identity or traditions. I'm speaking from a Latino lens, Nicaraguan, Mexican American family ties. I avoid Pan-Latin or Pan-Indigenous symbols. I use maps, timelines, and personal photos icons instead, as you can see in this PowerPoint presentation. I acknowledge gaps in family records and keep claims modest and, of course, verifiable. So, what? My CNM path and commitments. Use my positionality to support peers and communities I serve, counter stereotypes by showing up in leadership and inviting others in, advocate for student-friendly structures, flexible scheduling, advising that sees working students, keep learning from my family story without overclaiming it. I mean, I'm trying to leverage my location to widen access, pushing against limiting narratives and nudging institutions to be more responsive. Works I cited, of course, as I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, um, I drew on Dyer's essay on stereotypes. Of course, that's the role of stereotypes and the matter of images, essays on representations. And Ami and Winant's racial formation framework to connect everyday experience to broader structures. And that would be, of course, racial formation in the United States, third edition. Um, and I think that would be my little presentation. Yeah, that's the end. So thank you so much, and I hope you kind of have a little bit of an understanding of where I come from. Um, I know it's not too much that I know, but it is it is something, and I think sometimes we can belittle the little bit of root information we do know. So thank you.